For 30 years, my name wasn't Natalie. My name was Yes. Natalie, can you finish this report for me? Yes. Natalie, can you lend me $50? Yes. Natalie, can you watch my kids while I go to a party? Yes. I was a doormat. I was a peacekeeper. I thought that if I made everyone else happy, eventually, they would love me enough to make me happy. I was wrong. I lived in a small town. I worked as a receptionist at a car dealership. I hated cars. My dream was to be a chef. I wanted to open a small bakery. I had a notebook full of recipes: lemon tarts, sourdough bread, lavender cookies. I also had a dream fund. It was a bank account with $5,000 in it. It took me 5 years to save that money. It was for culinary school. My brother Kevin knew about the money. Kevin was charming. He was handsome. And he was a disaster. He always had a big business idea that failed. He always needed just a little help. One Sunday, Kevin came to my apartment. He was crying. "Nat," he sobbed, "I made a mistake. A big one. I owe money to some bad guys. If I don't pay them by tomorrow, they will hurt me." My heart stopped. "How much?" $5,000, he whispered. The exact amount in my dream fund. "Kevin," I said, shaking, "that is for school. That is my future." "I know," he cried, falling to his knees. "I promise, Nat. I will pay you back in a month. I just need to survive. Please. You are my sister. You always help me." I looked at his tear-stained face. I felt the old habit rising up, the habit of being the good girl, the habit of saying yes. I went to the bank. I withdrew the money. I gave it to him. "Thank you," he said, hugging me. "You are an angel." 2 days later, I went to the grocery store. I was walking through the parking lot when I saw a brand new, bright red motorcycle. And sitting on it, laughing with his friends, was Kevin. He wasn't in trouble. There were no bad guys. He had used my culinary school money to buy a toy. I stood there, holding a bag of flour. The flour I was going to use to practice my baking. Something inside me snapped. It wasn't a loud snap. It was quiet. It was the sound of a door closing forever. I walked up to him. He saw me. His smile dropped. "Nat," he stammered. "I can explain. I didn't yell. I didn't cry." "No, Kevin," I said. It was the first time I had ever said that word to him. I turned around and walked away. I walked all the way back to my apartment. I looked at my empty bank account. I looked at my recipe book. I packed a suitcase. I put my recipe book at the very top. I was 30 years old. I was broke. But I was done being yes. I bought a one-way bus ticket to the city. It cost me $40. I had exactly $100 left in my pocket. I arrived in the city at midnight. It was loud, dirty, and smelled of exhaust fumes and stale pizza. It was perfect. I rented a bed in a hostel for $20 a night. I had 5 days to find a job, or I would be sleeping on the street. I walked into every restaurant I saw. "Do you need a chef?" I asked. "Where is your degree?" They asked. "Where is your experience?" "I have a notebook," I said. "I have passion." They laughed. "Passion doesn't chop onions, sweetheart. Get out." By the 4th day, I was desperate. I was hungry. I walked past a restaurant called The Black Pot. It wasn't fancy, but it was famous. There was a line of people waiting outside. The smell of roasted garlic and rosemary drifted out the door. It smelled like heaven. I walked to the back door. It was open. Inside, the kitchen was a war zone. Pans were clanging. Fire was roaring. People were shouting. A large man with a thick beard and a stained apron was screaming at a young boy. "You call this chopped? These carrots look like they were gnawed by a beaver. Get out. You're fired." The boy ran out past me, crying. The large man turned around. He saw me standing there with my suitcase. "What do you want?" He barked. I'm busy. I heard you need a prep cook, I said. My voice was steady. I wasn't yes anymore. I need a professional, he growled. Not a tourist. I can chop, I said, and I don't cry. He looked at me. He looked at my suitcase. He threw a bag of 50 pounds of onions on the table. Thud. You have 20 minutes, he said. Dice them. If they aren't perfect, you don't get paid. I put down my bag. I washed my hands. I picked up a knife. It felt like an extension of my arm. Chop, chop, chop. I didn't think about my brother. I didn't think about the motorcycle. I thought about the onions. Small, uniform cubes. Fast, precise. I finished in 18 minutes. The chef, whose name was Bruno, came back. He looked at the pile of onions. He picked up a handful. He inspected them. He grunted. You missed a spot on the table. Clean it up. Does that mean I have the job? I asked. It means you can wash dishes, he said. Minimum wage, 12 hours a day, no tips. I'll take it, I said. For the next 6 months, I was a ghost in the kitchen. I scrubbed pots that were taller than me. I mopped floors until my hands bled. I took out the trash that smelled like rotting fish. But I watched. I watched how Chef Bruno seared the steaks. I watched how he balanced the acidity in the tomato sauce. I watched how he plated the risotto. I practiced in my head. Add salt, turn the heat down, add butter. One Friday night, the kitchen was in chaos. It was the busiest night of the year. The sous chef, a man named Marco, was sweating. He was overwhelmed. Service! Chef Bruno yelled. Where's the bechamel sauce for the lasagna? Table 4 is waiting. I burned it, Marco shouted, throwing a pan in the sink. I have to start over. We don't have time, Bruno roared. We are ruined. The kitchen went silent. Everyone froze. I was at the sink, scrubbing a pan. I looked at the stove. There was a pot of milk and butter sitting there. Without thinking, I walked over. Hey, dishwasher, get away from the stove, Marco yelled. I ignored him. I grabbed a whisk. I grabbed the nutmeg. I grabbed the parmesan. My hands moved automatically. Heat, whisk, season, taste. In 3 minutes, the sauce was thick, creamy, and smelled like comfort. I poured it over the lasagna. I put it in the window. Service, I said quietly. Chef Bruno stormed over. He looked at the lasagna. He dipped his finger in the sauce. He tasted it. He closed his eyes. The kitchen held its breath. Was he going to fire me? Was he going to throw the plate? He opened his eyes. He looked at Marco. Then he looked at me, the girl with the wet apron and the red hands. What is your name? He asked. Natalie, I said. Marco, Chef Bruno said without looking away from me. Give Natalie your apron. You are on dish duty tonight. Marco ripped the white apron off his chest. He threw it at me. He was furious, but he didn't argue with Chef Bruno. Nobody argued with Chef Bruno. I caught the apron. It was stained with tomato sauce and grease, but to me, it felt like a superhero's cape. I tied it around my waist. It was too big, but I didn't care. I stepped up to the stove. Order up, Bruno shouted. 2 risottos, 1 steak medium rare, and another lasagna. Yes, chef, I answered. My voice was loud. It wasn't the whisper of the old Natalie. It was the clear, sharp voice of a cook. For the rest of the night, I danced with the fire. I flipped pans. I chopped herbs. I didn't make a single mistake. The kitchen was a machine, and I was finally a working part of it. When the restaurant closed at 1:01 a.m., my feet were aching and my hands were burned, but my heart was soaring. Chef Bruno walked over to me. He held out a cold bottle of water. You have a good palate, Natalie, he said gruffly. Tomorrow you start on the line. No more dishes. Thank you, chef, I smiled. 2 years passed. I didn't just cook on the line. I conquered it. I became the sous chef. I was Bruno's right hand. I learned how to manage the kitchen, how to order supplies, and how to command respect. I even opened my old notebook. One evening, I made my lavender honey tart for the staff dinner. Bruno tasted it. He was quiet for a long time. Then he looked at me. "This goes on the menu tomorrow," he said. Within a month, people were coming to the Black Pot just for my dessert. A local food critic wrote a review praising the genius pastry chef, Natalie. I had my own small apartment. I had a new bank account. I was saving money again, but this time it felt different. I wasn't saving for a distant dream. I was living my dream. I felt strong. I was proud of the woman I saw in the mirror. Then, the past came knocking, literally. It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon. We were prepping for the dinner service. I was showing a new cook how to properly dice an onion. The waitress, Sarah, pushed open the kitchen doors. She looked uncomfortable. "Natalie," she said, "there is a man at the back door in the alley. He is asking for you." "A delivery?" I asked, wiping my hands on my towel. "No," Sarah said softly. "He says he is your brother." The knife in my hand slipped. It didn't cut me, but it hit the cutting board with a loud thwack. My heart dropped into my stomach. 2 years of peace, instantly shattered by one word: brother. I took off my apron. I walked out the back door into the cold, wet alley. Kevin was standing by the dumpster. He didn't look charming anymore. He looked tired. His jacket was dirty. The bright red motorcycle was nowhere to be seen. When he saw me, he put on his old familiar smile, the smile he always used when he wanted something. "Nat," he said, opening his arms. "Look at you. You look amazing. The big city changed you." I didn't step forward. I didn't hug him. I stood in the doorway, blocking the warmth of the kitchen. "What do you want, Kevin?" I asked. My voice was like ice. His smile faltered, but he tried again. "Come on, Nat. Is that how you greet your family? I've been looking everywhere for you. Mom told me you were working here. I read the article about your desserts. I am so proud of you." "You didn't come here to tell me you are proud," I said flatly. "How much do you need this time?" He looked down at his ruined shoes. He sighed, playing the victim perfectly. "Things have been hard, Nat," he whined. "I lost the bike. I lost my apartment. I have a new business idea, but the bank won't give me a loan. I just need a little push. $3,000. That's nothing for a famous chef like you, right?" He looked up at me with those big, sad eyes. The eyes that had controlled me for 30 years. "Family helps family, Natalie," he whispered. "You are the only one I have." The rain fell between us. Behind me, the kitchen was loud and busy. In front of me was the ghost of the girl who always said yes. Kevin held out his hand, waiting for me to fix his life again. I looked at Kevin's outstretched hand. I remembered the red motorcycle. I remembered the feeling of betrayal when I walked away from my dream. But then, I felt the warmth of the kitchen behind me. I smelled the lavender honey tart baking in the oven. I heard the clatter of pans, my pans, in my kitchen. I reached into my pocket. Kevin's eyes lit up. He thought I was reaching for my wallet. Instead, I pulled out a small white business card. It had the name and address of a local employment agency on it. We used them to hire dishwashers. I placed the card in his hand. "Here," I said. Kevin stared at it. He looked confused. "What is this?" "A job," I said. "They are hiring. Construction, cleaning. It's hard work, but it pays." "A job?" Kevin scoffed. The charm vanished instantly, replaced by anger. "I don't need a job, Natalie. I need capital. I need an investment. I am an entrepreneur." "No," I said calmly. "You are a user, and I am done being used." You selfish. He started to shout. He took a step toward me, trying to intimidate me like he used to. But I didn't shrink. I didn't look down. I took a step forward, right into his space. I was wearing my chef's whites. I smelled of sugar and strength. I am selfish, I agreed. I am finally selfish enough to love myself more than your lies. I worked for every dollar I have, Kevin. I chopped onions until my hands bled. I scrubbed floors. If you want money, earn it. Kevin looked at me. Really looked at me. He saw the steel in my eyes. He realized the bank of Natalie was closed forever. He sneered. Fine. Be that way. See if I ever talk to you again. He crumpled the business card and threw it in a puddle. He turned around and stormed off into the rain. I watched him go. A part of me, the old part, felt a pang of guilt. He is your brother, the voice whispered. But a louder voice answered. And you are Natalie. I bent down and picked up the wet card from the puddle. I put it in the trash can. I turned around and walked back into the kitchen. Order up, Chef Bruno shouted. 2 tarts. Yes, chef, I called out. I plated the desserts. I drizzled the honey. I placed a sprig of fresh lavender on top. It was perfect. That night, after service, Chef Bruno called me into his office. Natalie, he said, I'm retiring next year. My heart skipped a beat. Oh, I didn't know. I'm selling the restaurant, he continued, but I want to sell it to someone who knows its soul. He pushed a paper across the desk. It was a partnership agreement. I want you to take over, he said. The bank has already approved the loan based on your work here. It will be yours. Natalie's Kitchen. I looked at the paper. I looked at my name printed at the top. Tears pricked my eyes. Not tears of sadness, but tears of pure, overwhelming pride. Yes, I whispered. And this time, it was the best yes of my life. My name is Natalie. Today, I own the restaurant. It is always full. The smell of lavender and fresh bread welcomes everyone who walks through the door. Kevin never called back. I heard he moved to another city. I hope he finds his way, but I know now that I cannot walk the path for him. Sometimes, late at night, when the kitchen is quiet and clean, I open my old recipe notebook. I look at the first page, stained with tears from years ago. I pick up a pen and write a new note at the bottom. To the woman I was, thank you for surviving. To the woman I am so proud of you. If this story about setting boundaries, finding your passion, and learning to say no inspired you, please give this video a like. What is one thing you are proud of achieving on your own? Share your story in the comments below. For more emotional English stories about self-growth and success, please be sure to follow our channel.